So here's another really cool feature of DaVinci Resolve, and that is the ability to mark in and out points for our clips directly from our media pool or directly from our clips without actually having to load them into our source monitor. Now, right now I have what's called live media preview turned on. It doesn't have to be turned on for this, which we'll look at, but right now I'm going to have it on, which by the way is the default state. So with live media preview on, if I just hover over a clip, I'm not pressing any buttons at all on my mouse, on my keyboard, nothing. Just scrubbing back and forth here with my mouse. I can see my clip right there in the source viewer. Okay. So what we can do, and let's zoom in here so we can see this even better. For those who don't know, usually whenever you're marking in and outs, you'll put your clip in your source viewer, press I to mark my in point, O to mark my out point, and then drag that in or edit it in however I want. And then I have just that portion of the clip in my timeline, right? And by the way, we can also see these marks right here in our clip in our media pool, and that corresponds to the in and out points we actually have there in our source viewer. But here in DaVinci Resolve, it gets pretty cool. So let's just hover over this clip here. Again, because we have that live media preview on, we can see it here in our source viewer. So if I move my mouse off this clip, it goes to the clip that's actually loaded into our source viewer, which we can of course see up here. So again, I'm just hovering over this clip, pressing no buttons. So let's say I know I want her to start right here. I'll just press an I on the keyboard and I'll move my mouse forward, and you can see that line on the actual clip and the endpoint in the source viewer. Again, I'm not pressing any buttons on the mouse. And right here is where I wanted to go out. I'll just press O, and that's it. Move my playhead back here, my mouse back, and you can see that point there right on the clip. I can then go right to my next clip. Again, not pressing any buttons at all. And I know I want her in here, and I want her out here. And I can go from clip to clip like this without having to double click and load something into my source monitor or my source viewer. So say this clip, instead of having her start down here, I want her to start here. And before she turns her head, I want it to go out about there. There we go. Quick, simple, easy. And if I load this clip now into the actual monitor here, into the viewer, those in-out points are of course respected. So then of course I could drag it in from here if I loaded it into my source viewer, but it gets even cooler. So I didn't even load this clip here into our source viewer. I just marked the in and out. Guess what? I can grab it right from the clip bin here, right from our media pool, drag it directly in, and guess what? It's just the portion that we marked with those in-out points. And of course we can always come in here and adjust things to the the full clip length, of course, because as you should know, your in-out points don't actually cut anything. They're just marking our points of interest that we want in our timeline. But it gets even cooler than that. So let's say this goat, I'll just hover over it. And this time, let's say live media preview's off. We don't have to have it on, okay? But now if I hover over this clip, I can't actually see it over here. Maybe a problem, may not. So you decide if you want that on or not. But in this case, we'll have it off. Say I want my goat to start here. I'll press my I. You can see that point created for us right there. I'll press an O, and now I can grab it and drag it directly over to our timeline viewer. I get my pop out, and then I could do, say, an insert edit, a replace, a place on top, or something like that, without ever having to double click and load it into our actual source viewer, or of course, grab it and drag it right into the source viewer. And it gets even cooler than that. We could also, say, hover over this clip, which has music attached to it, as we can tell by the icon there in the clip bin. Let me make this a little bit larger so we can see it here. And as we saw in a previous video, we can turn on our audio overlay, okay? And then when I hover over this clip, guess what? It's not loaded into our source viewer, but I can still see my audio right there from my clip bin, mark my I, mark my O for my out, and then of course load it into my source viewer, or just grab it and drop it right in wherever I want, or of course use your your overwrite edit here, or your replace, or whatever way you like to edit in your clips. So that is another way you can mark your ins and outs directly from your media pool, I, O, and then drag it in right to your timeline, and you don't even have to load it into your source viewer. And by the way, DaVinci Resolve is 100% free. So if you're looking for a professional NLE, go pick it up right now. Of course, that link will be in the description below.